Okay, so some people want to understand my image process, and so I decided I would just share my image process. This is a unedited image directly out of Origin. Now, this is an Origin stacked image. I can also do this from complete stacking, where we start with all the light files and get to this point, but I wanted to just show it straight from the Origin. So this is what it looks like coming out of the camera with Origin doing the stacking. We can already see a few problems with this particular image. This is Flaming Star Nebula. We can already see a few problems. There's some tracking issues here, which I hate. So I've got this haze around the edges. Not that big of a deal. It's not messing up most of the nebula, so we're just going to crop that out. So why don't we just start with that? I'll just walk through what I do in Photoshop to get this to where I want it to go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to crop those problems out. Now, sometimes I'll crop later because I can do the editing that I want to do and then crop it down and make sure I don't pull. But I've done this one 3 times kind of in preparation for doing this video. So I know where I'm going to crop anyway. So let's just go ahead and get it cropped down. So here we are cropped down. A couple of things I want to notice about this image. Man, the star field is heavy, which is this is what it looks like coming out of the camera, and to me it's beautiful. But on the same side, I know that it's going to seriously occupy this image, and the star field is going to really stand out in the image if I don't settle the star field down some. And so that's going to be what I'm going to do. The other thing is I need to bring that nebulosity. There's a lot of nebulosity going on out in here that I can't really see right now, but we're going to do that. So the first step that I'm going to do after I do this crop is I'm going to use a tool called StarXTerminator. I'm going to go ahead and separate the star field from the background. That's what this tool is going to do. So we're going to start with that. I've got a pretty fast machine, so it really won't take too terribly long for StarXTerminator to do. It's unscreening is basically what it's called. So we'll take StarXTerminator and do its unscreening, which will create over here on the right-hand side. You can see it's already starting creating some layers. The 2 layers that we're going to be left with, we'll be left with the original layer, and then we'll be left with 2 more layers, one called Starless and one called Stars. So if I just turn off layer 1, which it really is, you can't see layer 1 right now anyway because these 2 layers are over the top of it. But if I pull the stars away, now I have a starless layer of just the nebula itself, and then I have a stars layer, which is that heavy star field. There is a little bit of stars, just a touch. There's like one little dot there of a star left in the starless field, but I can live with that. We're all good. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my starless layer. I'm not going to turn on the stars layer right now. I'm going to get this guy edited down. And right out of the gate, one of the things that I'll want to do to this, and we don't have to do this in particular order. Sometimes it's easier for me to do it in a later order. I've done this one a few times, like I said, in practice, so I kind of know what I'm going to do. But the first thing I'm going to do right out of the gate is I'm going to go ahead and apply a sharpen to it, which we'll use a topaz sharpening to this. So we'll go ahead and apply that, which is an AI sharpening. It's going to and not create a whole lot of pixels. It's really just going to take and make certain areas a little bit sharper than others. I'm also going to denoise the image with the AI here in just a moment. So we'll denoise it and we'll let this thing complete. Chug, 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 chug. There it is. It's sharpened. If you want to kind of see it before and after, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit just so we can see what happened to it. And we can see it actually got a little grainy in here. But if I go to the edit and I undo that, you'll see that grain drop out. It's a little fuzzy. And then if I reapply that, let's see, it just sharpened it. It's pretty subtle. It's not a lot, but you also see some things happen along this bright line ridge right here. So I'm going to zoom in on that just to kind of give you a little bit again before and after. Let's undo that. See how fuzzy that is? And then when we redo it, pull in a little sharp. It's really just adjusting at the pixel level, kind of brightnesses of the pixels, not really adding or removing pixels, just changing individual brightness and contrasts compared to the neighboring pixels. Okay, so we've added a sharpen. We're going to go ahead now and we're going to go ahead and apply a denoise to this too. So you can denoise this background. Notice I am not messing with the stars at this point. We're not touching stars. We're just touching the nebulosity in the background. The flaming star is really kind of interesting because it has two things going on at once, which make it a difficult target to shoot from a filter standpoint. We have hydrogen, which is this reddish portion of it. And then we have an oxygen portion, which is the bluish portion of it. So we've got a denoise applied now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to curve this one out. We'll add some curves here. We're going to adjust our reds up and down. I can bring the entire RGB up if I want. That brings up kind of everything. It's a little bit intense. When I bring up everything, I'm getting a lot of gray along the edge. So I want to focus in on specific colors. We'll bring it up a little bit there, and then I'm going to go ahead and move over to the red channel, and I'm going to bring some red channels up in a couple of different little zones here. There we go. Now we're starting to get it. I'm not bringing it all. Now I've got this area where it's kind of dark, and I'm going to bring the red down a little. I'm going to go ahead also here and set my black point in red just to try to settle this down, this kind of little bit of the washy out here. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you're going to see the whole image drop. That's a little too much, but we're going to bring it back up from here. There we go. I'm liking the look of that already. Getting a little bit of red in the background. Oh, there we go. Now we're going to bring our blue up. I'm going to go over here and bring our blue, and this little area is over in here. We're going to try to dial these blues up a little bit. I don't want to get the background to become too purple on me, but I am grabbing a little bit of the red channel when I touch these spots. I just want to get the blue up a little. I'm going to come back out into the red channel, and I'm actually bring the blue down some. Bring this blue up a little more. Wow, yeah. I'm going to go over that red channel again and dial that red up just a little. Doing this by eye. Really, I'm color adjusting. I'm not really changing pixels as far as creating new pixels. That's not happening. We're just color adjusting the pixels that we have. We're either bringing them up or settling them down. So I am pretty happy with that curves right there. I'm going to go ahead now and throw in a color and vibrance touch. This is we're going to just add a little vibrance to this. We're going to drop it. We're going to bring the saturation up just a touch, not very much. It doesn't need a lot on this one. So my blues look okay, but I think I could make my blues come out a little bit more. But before I do that, I'm actually going to just bring the exposure up on this. I'm going to come in here and do just a complete image exposure lift. So you can see it getting a little brighter here. Yeah, we're going to gamma correction this so that it's not bringing out the edges too much. We're going to keep it inside the nebula. I'm going to bring that exposure up just a touch more. It's not very much. Exposure's been brought up. We're also going to go ahead and do a clarity and dehaze. This is an AI tool as well, so we're going to add a little clarity. Wow, that's like bringing some sharpening in, and then we'll dehaze it just a touch as well. Getting some spots popping out here, but the star field's so heavy it's not really going to bother me. We could go in there and correct those hot spots, but I'm not gonna mess with it. Look, when I turn the stars on, There's just so many stars going on in here. But you see those little red hot spots, they pop out to me. I might want to go ahead and correct those. Let's just go ahead and do that. Just so I can show you how I would do a correction if I had some of these that I want to correct. So I come over here to my Men tool. There we go. So this is the remove tool basically. And I need to highlight the thing that I'm on. That's set too big. I'm going to adjust the size down a little bit. That's a little too big. There we go. And I'm going to just tap them. Get rid of some of these little hot spots out here. Because I don't want these bright things that look like bright red stars in my final image. It's always interesting to go in really close in and see what this tool is actually doing. So we'll dive in on this one little hotspot right here. We'll bring it all the way down to the pixel. So what it's going to do is try to replace that with surrounding pixels that look like it. So here, I'm actually removing pixels. So do I create new pixels? Nope. I don't create new pixels. I don't put things that are not here in here. Literally, I'm taking pixels away in this particular case. Here. Man, if I really wanted to get down there, that's a little bit of nebulosity that's there. And if I click right now, I'd lose it all. So let me just drop the size down even further. We're going to get down to like super small pixel editing here. Bang. Bang. Let's come back out. Let's look at this. Go get this one. Let's go get this guy over here. Nah, he's a real piece of nebulosity. I don't want to mess with him. By the way, I'm holding the Alt key to do the zooming around and then just scrolling. And yeah, I want to get. He's actually left over a piece of star in my background. I'm gonna leave him. Let's go in here and get this guy. This guy. Let's go over here a little bit. The share thing is in my way. There's a recording thing. Part of the tool is. Get that off my screen. I got any little hot guys around here? Yeah, this guy over here. I'm gonna go get him now. All right, good enough. Good enough for this session. I might spend a little bit more time on this. If I was doing it, non-video, I might. Oh, here's a good idea showing you how it works. That's a little bit of a hot spot there. When I click on this, you're going to see that it's going to try to replace it with other things that are already around it. So it doesn't just black it out. It kind of tries to figure out what to do with it. There we go. All right, happy with that. Let's zoom in down here a little bit. Yeah. All right, good deal. So we've done some mending there. We've got a clarity. We've got a curves, a color enhancer. We've done an exposure. We've got clarity and dehaze. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to bring the exposure in this area. There's a really bright star right here. And I want to bring the exposure on the oxygen, the blue area, up a little bit. So how am I going to pull that off? So I'm going to use a tool called Instamask. And Instamask will allow me to pick off specific things. So I can pick off like in the blue region and try to pull the blue colors here. And I could pick off blue across the entire thing. We're going to create a mask. That's not enough. That's still not enough. Let's go down all the way down to a 2 here. That's fine in a good chunk of it, but we can make some adjustments here to just get the little blue that we want. So we're going to take the midtones down a little. Yeah, I'm liking this. Now I've got a mask created, but if I wanted to curve it, let's do a curve to that. Let's do a specific curve to that mask first. Let's just see if we can bring the blue up a little bit, just the blue channel. And we're only going to focus on the blue channel in these areas. No matter what I touch, it's just going to do that. So I'm going to actually apply this mask to a curves. What I really want to do in a minute is apply this to a exposure. But note, it doesn't have a preset for exposure. So I would have to create an exposure layer first and then apply this mask to that layer. But right now we're just going to apply it to curves. So we see this curves, but this mask is now applied. It's not going to apply curves across the entire image. It's only going to apply curves against this mask. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to the blue area of this mask and I'm going to try to dial it up, and you're going to see what's going to happen. You can see that blue is kind of stepping up just a little. And for you to really see this, it's super subtle. It's super subtle, but because I've selected down into this mask here, when I turn it off, this layer, you're going to see the blue just pop a little, just a little. You might want to bring that up just a touch more. I'm okay. Yeah. I'm liking how this blue is coming up in that mask. Turn it off. Off. Anyway, there you go. So now the other thing I want to do is I want to do that with the exposure in this area. I want to bring the exposure in this area up a little bit. I'll make it a little bit brighter. So I'm going to create an exposure layer. And now I'm going to grab this mask that I just used on the curves layer, and I'm going to hold my alternate key down and drag it. And that'll bring that. Do I want to replace that layer mask on that exposure? Sure do. And so now I've got the exposure layer for that area, that mask selected. I'm going to just tweak that exposure up just a little. You see it getting a little bit brighter there? I might damn it just a touch. So let's go look at it now and turn the exposure layer on and off. Choosh, 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 choosh. There you go. Curves off and on. Just a little bit bluer. See how I'm pulling that blue up just a touch? I don't want to mess with it a bunch. And by the way, I get down in here, oh my gosh, I could correct every one of these pixels. I could spend time on this, on this bad boy, going, man, I got to dial everyone. And some of these pixel haters, that they'll go do that. You got to get down and you got to adjust every one of these pixels. Let's fix that. Oh, that's a little too purpley to me. There we go. These are getting a little too hot. Settle them down. If you want to hunt my pixels, you hunt my pixels. I believe that once I pull out and look at the image as a normal, that those pixels are going to drop out. And when I bring in this massive star field, good luck. Yeah, I got pixels. I got pixels that could be adjusted. If you want perfection, you can absolutely go for perfection here, but you don't have to. I don't believe that. Nature is not perfect, and my images are not perfect. If I was going for image of the day or something like that, I suppose in Astro, I might want to get perfection. Anyway, let's get on to how I mess with the stars, because it's a big important part of this. So the first thing, we're going to turn off all the work we did on the Starless, and we're just going to look at the star field. It's a really pretty star field. It's very, very heavy. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make duplicates, multiples of this. I'm going to duplicate this layer. Bang. I'm going to duplicate this layer. Bang. I'm going to do it. It's getting really bright. And I'm going to duplicate this layer again. Bang. And then I'm going to duplicate it one more time. Bang. So I'm going to turn off a bunch of these. This is my original stars layer. I'm not going to mess with it and just in case I make a mistake, I want to be able to have my original around. That's why I made so many copies. We're going to have 4 layers when we're done. Excuse me, this stars layer is going to remain untouched. So let's look at the stars copy layer. The first thing that I'm going to do to this first copy is I am going to apply, again, RC Astro's StarXTerminator to it. Hopefully I actually have the layer I was working on. The StarXTerminator has a subtool called Star Shrink. And we're going to take Star Shrink. I've got some presettings here if you want to know what they are. It's radius 6, strength 2, sharpness -3. I like the settings that I use. I use these settings pretty much most of the time, and this is going to shrink those stars. So, and boom, it's settled the stars down, it's considerably settled these stars down. So that's going to be first thing that I'm going to do. And I'm just going to rename this so we know what I've got going on. And we're going to call it Stars Shrink. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to use another tool. We'll take this original star layer. And I'm going to pull the primary stars out with a tool called Pro Digital Software StarSpikes Pro 4. So we're going to grab this one, and I'm going to turn it so you just see the effects that it's adding right now. And so it's brought in a primary. I know what I'm looking at. So it's brought in a solar flare. I'm going to turn that off for a minute. It has not brought in any rings, and it's not brought in any secondaries. It's just brought in primaries. And these are, if I brought this to the side, these are my 2 primary stars right here. I'm getting lucky that it's picking up the second one right now. So, in the quantities of it, 53. There's the second one. You can turn the intensity up on these guys a little bit if I want. If you want to stop the screen right now and look at the settings that I got going on, these are my settings that are happening. I'm not perfectly happy right now with this setting. Exactly what I'm going on the primary I'm okay with. But let's go over and get that ring flare. Let's turn that bad boy on a minute. There it is. It's a ring flare. I don't like what it's doing with this one. I'm going to make this secondary a little bit more than that, but we'll see what we get with this here in a second. So we're just grabbing primary stars right now. We're just messing with primary. So what did I do? I turned on a ring flare. It makes it look like I took the picture through a refractor. It is definitely, I am now inventing pixels. People punish me if you don't like it. I am now inventing pixels. If this is not what you want to do, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this piece, but I like the look of a refractor image. So I'm going to turn this refract up a little bit. I'm going to grab a solar flare, throw that in there just a touch. Back that intensity off some. There we go. And we're going to turn this primary, turn this intensity up a little bit. And I'm going to throw this rainbow intensity up just a touch too. I like it when it does a rainbow frequency. I love when it does this. I can zoom this in so you can see a little bit more what it's actually doing in the star. It's making it look like I have a refractor and that I've just gotten a star spike. And I'm going to leave effects only. So I could do this and then it would edit the whole field and just add these changes to that field. But I actually want to create a layer that just has the effects on it. So I'm going to say, okay, now I can see that. So now if I would look at stars shrunk together with that, wow. I'm getting pretty happy with that. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this one. We're going to come and apply a secondary layer as well using Star Shrink or Star Pro. We're going to come in here, go to StarSpikes Pro. And again, we're going to go effects only. I'm going to turn the primaries off altogether now. I'm going to turn these solar flares off altogether now. Turn off that ring flare all together now, and I'm going to go for secondary stars. And so we're going to dial this up, and I'm going to see how I'm going to bring the intensity up with it, just so I get some of these. And I want to just highlight a few of the stars that are actually bright in this original picture. They're pretty bright. I'm just finding them. I'll drive that intensity up a little bit more, settle that down. I can pull their length up just a touch. And spike spreads and all that. I'm not going to mess with their color too much. I could throw their color saturation up a little bit. And now you can see that some of the stars that were actually pretty bright in the original image, I'm finding them and I'm going to go ahead and make them brighter. Remember, I reduced everything. So now I'm finding specific stars and I'm making them brighter. I'm creating layers of stars and I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to go ahead and effect only and bring that in. And that's my highlighted stars, kind of bringing them up. And if I bring that in with the stars shrunk, look what happened. I get layers of stars, not just this massively heavy star field. This star here is pretty big. And I'm going to bring in that original primary. Boom. I added the pop to that. Right? This is what my original stars look like. Turn them all there. And now I've got 3 layers going on that are like that. There's one last thing that I like to do to the shrunk layer sometimes, not all the time. but sometimes, and I'll take this star shrunk layer and I'll do that just to show you what I get. And that is, I'm going to drop the opacity on it just a touch. Why? Because it takes those shrunk stars that are in the back. It lets the ones that I manipulated and brought up, my primary I brought up, and it just settles them down just a little bit more. So what happens when I put it with the Starless? Look what I get. I get that. Versus if I just didn't mess with these stars at all, I get this. And I want that nebulosity to be focused in the image. I want people to be able to see that. That's the thing they don't see. People see stars, but they don't get to see this nebulosity. So I just don't want to overpower the nebulosity. I want to bring the stars down. I don't want to remove them so that you don't see them. This is a heavy star field, but I need to settle them down so that you can actually see the nebulosity going on behind it. After that, I would go ahead and put my logo on the corner and then label it. You get the point. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's how pretty fast. I can spend a lot of time doing this, but that's how pretty fast that we edited the Flaming Star Nebula and created a layer effect of stars so that the nebulosity can stand out. Now, if you don't like the one that I did, you can do it without it. Here, take it out. You don't have to have that star spike if you don't want that star spike, but I like the star spike. And actually, you can see they put another one over here. So, but if you don't like that, don't include that layer. Yeah. All right. Have a great one, guys. Hope that answered the question a little bit about my processing, how I do layers of stars with heavy stars. Have a great day.
You were quite like a true nobody said, standing in the corner of my sight. Everybody else was chasing noise instead. I was staring straight into the light. I didn't need a sign or someone else to say this was more than just a phase. I